Welcome back. I'm Tom with TJPtoo Solutions. In today's video, we're going to install snowmobile Viper camshafts, manual chain tensioner, airbox spacer, GYTR velocity stacks, and then to top it all off, we're going to install a Weller reflashed ECU for all the little modifications that are going to happen. This vehicle already has the block off plates and a full Weller exhaust for the performance levels that it's already got. So once we get that Weller racing engine controller back from them we've already sent out, we're going to install that and make this thing run. Let's get into that video right now. Okay, here we are at the back of a YXZ1000. A couple things you need to know right off the bat. In the back of the engine there are two plugs that need to be removed. One's a 10mm hex for an Allen key, and the other one is a 8mm hex for an Allen key. The 10mm plug will reveal a 19mm bolt head, which you can use either a short or shallow or deep socket to get to spin the engine over. And then the 8mm plug is going to reveal your timing points. So you start rolling it around, keep an eye on that window or the opening. If you come across a single mark, keep going past that. That's the water pump mark. That's the water pump timing mark. That indicates that the counterweight is in the back of the engine is out of the way. So if you do need to remove the water pump, it will come out. Then you roll it around some more and you come to the eye or the ignition window, and then the line behind it, which is true top dead center. So get that lined up. If you think you got it, pull the coils in the cover, inspect. You're going to want to see timing marks to go all the way across and line up with the level of the head. And then there'll be two dots that line up with the cam caps. If those aren't there, you're not at TDC on the right side. So pop the valve cover back on, put two bolts in, because the valve cover helps hold pressure on the timing chain, and without that you run the risk of jumping timing, and you don't want that. So pop the cover back on, roll it around again, one full revolution, back to the eye and the mark, and you should be on TDC. Pull the cover, look for your dots, look for your timing marks. If that's all good, pull it apart. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, we've got the exhaust side camshaft out of the vehicle, and you can identify that it is a exhaust side camshaft by this ridge right here. You'll see on an intake shaft that this ridge that's in the exact same position is much larger. This is an identifier between intake versus exhaust. Also, the timing mark here is a good identifier in relationship to this hole right here. On the exhaust side, it's always going to be facing towards the spark plug. On the intake cam side, it's going to be facing the spark plug. So keep this guy here, whip these bolts off. Here's your exhaust mark, here's your exhaust mark. You want to keep these flat and level when you go back in. And then there's a special timing procedure that a Mr. Michael Heinen relayed to me, and every time I have done it, it has worked spot on without flaw. So let's get this one changed right now, and we'll get the exhaust side done. let's not forget Loctite, just because we had our hands on it. Okay, that's the exhaust side. Okay, here we are with the intake camshaft. I've placed the exhaust camshaft back inside the engine just for some safekeepings. And it's time to swap gear with the intake camshaft. So let's do that right now. All right, and there's the intake cam. Okay, here we go. Both cams back in the head. Nothing's tightened down yet, but here is a surefire way that I've been able to time these engines and be dead on every time. So you come over here. The reason I put it right back here with the eye and that plated link right there is because that's where I scoped it out in the very beginning before I undid timing. So I'm putting the camshaft right back to that plated link. Then what Michael Heinen told me is, you see that E and then the I? You go ahead and count 9 plated links if the timing mark falls between the 2 plates. You count 9 plated links and set this camshaft in between the plated links. Or if it falls between, in the middle of a plated link, you count over 18 pins and set your timing mark, and you will be dead on every time. Now I put the tensioner in just a teeny bit so it can keep a little bit of tension on the whole system, but I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of assembly lube and put my caps on and tighten them. So I'm there. All right, let's watch the reassembly. Okay, and there you have it. Viper cams installed in a YXZ1000R. Now, after you get everything done and tightened up and whatnot, leave the coil connectors, all three of those coil connectors, off. Crank it over, crank it over, crank it over. Basically what you're doing is you're priming the oil cavities that you just drained from oil and all that other stuff with the other camshafts. So crank, 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 crank. Give it 15 seconds to prime that stuff up, and then come back, plug all your connectors back in. Don't worry, yeah, the check engine light will be on when you're cranking, but when you key off and key back on, all codes will be gone and you should just hit and fire. So that's today's video for you. If you liked, hit the like button, get the notifications, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, everyone. Thanks for watching.